All right. Hello again, everybody. We're back. Another review of a Star Trek film. So today we're doing Star Trek Insurrection. Very exciting. So this is another film that I randomly saw, like in the 90s. It's kind of funny. I saw this one. I saw three of them. The only one I didn't see was Nemesis.
We'll get to Nemesis.
Yeah. So yeah, I've seen it. I saw Insurrection, I saw Generations, and I saw First Contact. Did like Insurrection? All I remember when I watched that movie was Picard dancing some samba music.
Yeah, he got down a little bit.
Yeah, Geordi gaining back his eyesight, and some people in a cave with a CGI animal. That's what I.
Here's the thing about this is something similar happened before we went live, but I find this movie very forgettable. I actually recently rewatched most of it just to to prepare myself, and I don't remember a vast majority of what happens in this movie. I find it's a very forgettable Star Trek movie, and I feel like there's supposed to be a lot happening. So
I think that there's not a lot that happens that is consequential. So that I think that's a part of it. It's like, there's, but on a certain level, like, I don't know, Star Trek is not like a franchise where it's like, oh my god, the universe is going to explode. It's not the MCU or something like that.
I mean, more recently it's become that, but it wasn't always.
Yeah, it was.
The fate of billions of lives. No, it was more of on a just one planetary scale, not like all I don't want to say global. I don't want. You know what I mean? In more recent times, it has been the fate of the universe as we know it. Exactly.
It's usually, it seems like destroying Earth, at least, is usually sort of a thing that's kind of a big deal.
I mean, you don't need to just destroy Earth. I mean, the Starfleet headquarters is there. Why don't you just vaporize headquarters from space?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's what they wanted to do in the season 4 finale of Enterprise. Some guy got a whole bunch of weapons on Mars and had them pointing at the Starfleet headquarters. He's like, I'm going to do this. I could be totally wrong about that, but that sounds pretty.
That sounds like a plan.
Yeah, why don't you just vaporize headquarters? You don't need to destroy, because you can subjugate an entire planet. It seems kind of like a waste. I don't want to give any dictators or planetary crazies some ideas, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, I mean, look, the first movie is about something that's heading to Earth. I mean, it is kind of, it could be a problem for Earth, but it's just like a cloud.
It's just a space cloud.
It's a
very intelligent space cloud computer.
And even the fourth movie is kind of similar. Like, there's this thing coming, and it's like, well, what do we do? Well, it speaks like a whale. We need whales.
Yeah, but even Starfleet didn't figure that out that soon. All their devices were going haywire, and the thing, it wasn't just the probe wasn't coming to Earth just to fuck up Earth. It was a side effect of their technology, because they were like, hey, where are our whale buddies? We haven't heard from them in a long time. It's been a while. Yeah,
we need to find whales.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, yeah, this film, it's similar. It's like, it's about these philosophical ideas, and we'll kind of get into what the ideas are. But I mean, that's one thing that's kind of nice about this franchise. It's not like, again, the MCU or something where it's like, oh my god, this guy's going to destroy everything. Oh my god, this guy has this thing, and this thing is going to destroy everything if we don't stop the thing, or if we don't get the thing. Oh my god, this guy, he's going to go to this place and he's going to unleash this thing that's going to destroy the planet. Oh my god, we have to stop. No. It's not like that.
It's like I kind of stopped caring that the universe is in peril, because it's been so overused. I'm like, okay, someone's gonna stop it. If they don't, they'll go back in time.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is what happens in Star Trek all the time. Yeah. So I'm kind of numb to that whole plot device.
It does become kind of it just loses its effect after a while.
Yeah.
But anyway, so to talk about the plot of this film. So it starts off, there's this nice, quaint little village with all these people, and they're kind of doing their thing. But, it doesn't look like a super advanced sort of civilization. They're humans, but they look like they're just I don't know, like medieval times.
Medieval-ish with some better, stylists. They're clean, at least.
They are clean. They are very clean. Yeah, and it seems like they have like a nice, clean planet that they're on too. And so we then see that they're being surveyed by some people, and we quickly were like, oh, okay, this is like the Federation. Very interesting. And then we see Data. We see Data like being chased by some people, and they're all wearing something that's making them invisible. And Data's just like wrecking these people.
Yeah, Data's causing some havoc.
Yeah, Data's causing havoc, and he's just
when a super strong android goes haywire, you don't want to be in the middle of that.
Yeah, he's going haywire, and like he's tossing people, and he's slapping people, and he's throwing people. It's great. It's kind of great to watch. They're like, oh my god, you can't allow them to see what's going on, and at some point, like someone takes the helmet off of Data's head.
And he's just like a floating head.
He's a floating head, and one of these characters, I think it's like a kid. This kid sees him, and he's like, "What?" And then Data looks at him, and then Data like goes away because he has to fight some other guy. Yeah, and he's like Data's told to stand down, and he doesn't, and then he fires on the facility, which takes out the cloaking device, and so they're totally like
a little exposed.
Yeah, they're totally exposed, and so the people on this planet are like, what the hell? We're being watched by these aliens or what? Yeah, whatever they are.
The Federation would be alien to them. They'd be like, dude, what the hell? What's going on?
Yeah. So this is breaking the Prime Directive.
Data is definitely violating the Prime Directive. They're fine being there as long as they're not seen. But Data is some shit up. Yeah. That's a problem. That's a court-martial offense.
Mm-hmm. That's a problem, and he's a robot too. So I feel like I don't even know how that would. It depends on what are the rights of.
Data has basically sentient human rights, essentially.
Okay, so he will get a trial. They wouldn't. Just shut
he would
him
get
off
in trouble for it.
Like he was a bad Roomba or something.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the end result is that he probably gets,
turned off
or something, or they just have to, make sure they fix what's in his programming. But the damage is already kind of done. But Data's gone haywire before. He has an off switch that they've used. Like there is an actual off switch that someone just pokes, and he's like, oh.
Yeah.
So exactly. But you have to get close enough to the haywire android in order to do that.
Yeah. That can be the hard part. So Data's a problem. He's also like not with the crew. So that's another question. It's like, what's Data doing here? And we see Picard is whining and dining some other civilization of aliens somewhere else. Yeah, some delegates, and they're like,
he's on a diplomatic mission to Alderaan.
Yeah, he is basically. And I think he says something to this, like they put a headdress on him, and they say something about dancing and something about, I forget, food or something like that in this. Yeah.
It's forgettable for me. I know he puts the headdress on, and he's just like, yeah, okay, I'm down like a clown in Funky Town. I think it's supposed to be meant to be like silly, but at the same time, it's like you're supposed to just respect their culture. So I don't know if this should
100%.
be like, this shouldn't be like for laughs, in my opinion.
They also they just achieve warp, and it's all this it's a big deal.
It's a huge deal for this planet.
Yeah, it is. Like I think they have some exchanges like, oh, I'm looking forward to dancing with you or something like that.
I mean, hey,
so am I.
Dancing is a huge part of a lot of cultures, so man.
Yeah.
He's gonna get down at the club.
Yeah, he is. And so then he gets hailed by his basically his superior. This guy, what's this guy, Douglas or something like that? What's this dude's name? The dude that was in the Matrix sequel. Daughtry. He's like admiral. Or I feel like with admirals it's 50-50. They're either evil or they're incompetent.
Yeah, pretty much. Or they have really good intentions, but then they're like, oh no, I fucked up.
Exactly. And this guy maybe kind of falls into that. We can talk about this guy Daughtry.
if the admiral is the main captain's best friend at the beginning of the episode, generally there is going to be a betrayal of some sort.
Yeah. Like if you're confiding in the admiral's gonna like.
Oh, I've uncovered this conspiracy. Oh yeah, tell me more.
Stab. Yeah.
Tell me more.
Exactly. I love that. There's a really good example of that, and I think what's that movie? I forget, but there's one where it's like the main character confides in this guy, and they both work at this. It's the pre-crime movie. Minority Report.
Minority Report, yeah.
Yeah, Minority Report. And so Tom Cruise is telling this guy like, "Oh man, I see this thing, and there's this problem. It could be a problem for this whole system that we built." It's like, "Oh yeah," and then like suddenly there's this thing where he's like, there's a murder that he's supposedly committed.
Yeah, and like Colin Farrell's the one who's hunting. Oh, yeah. Colin Farrell's so good in that movie.
Yeah, he's great.
That's when I actually I think that's when I started liking him.
What's funny? The person who was supposed to have that role was Javier Bardem.
Really?
But he turned it down because he said his English wasn't good enough at the time.
I could actually picture that.
Yeah.
I could a young Javier, not Javier Bardem now. Javier Bardem was too mature for the
this would be like a totally different
different character. I think different person. Because like it's like that have you ever seen LA Confidential?
Oh yeah.
That one. That betrayal, Rollo Tomasi.
Yeah. That's a really good one.
That was a good one. I remember seeing that for the first time, being like, as soon as Kevin Spacey, fuck Kevin Spacey, by the way, but as soon as Kevin Spacey and Guy Pearce split up, I was just like, don't leave each other. Don't
Someone's
leave
gonna
each
die.
other. Someone's gonna die. Oh man, it's yeah. But in that same vein, if you confide in someone who is older in a position of authority, generally you're going to get shot.
Yeah, you're gonna get stabbed by this person. Yeah. Totally. Yeah, and it works every time because we all feel like we want to trust some type of a person, and the more trusting they feel, the more the betrayal feels harder.
Oh, especially to the audience too. Like audience is gonna feel like they just got shot. I mean,
that's literally what happens in Minority Report. He tells he tells them everything, and he's like, "No one's coming for us." Like, what do you mean? Bang, bang, bang means like I get to kill you.
Especially when it's a character that's finally that's been on the main character's ass the whole time, and they're finally coming around to seeing the conspiracy that's going on, and they're like, "Nope." But yeah, admirals in Star Trek follow that trope. They can't help themselves.
Big time. Yeah, what was it in the 6th film? It was the admiral, and it was the admiral. It was
the Romulan ambassador. Yeah, the Romulan ambassador.
And there was like a third person, I think.
It was like the Klingons were also like
the Klingon. Yeah, the Klingon. And it wasn't the Klingon like that one, the person who took over when they killed that dude.
No, it was them because that was the Chancellor's daughter. She was totally unaware of everything.
She was unaware, but the military. It was basically the military.
Yeah, the head of the military was in it.
The head of the military. Yeah, those three. Yeah, conspired to cause a conflict because they all benefited from it. So yeah, very common. So then we see this character. Ruafo, something like that. Forget how you say his name. Played by the great F. Murray Abraham. This is some scary shit.
Yeah, it's really creepy. It's really creepy design.
Have you seen Brazil? That movie?
I have not. No.
Okay, there's a very similar kind of take in that film where it's like basically the main character is this very kind of I don't know. He's kind of a pushover of a guy. And he exists in this. Basically, the whole idea of Brazil is like, if you imagine the worst possible future, it's totalitarian bureaucracy. That's where they live. But as a side note, this guy, the main character, his mom is obsessed with plastic surgery, and it's like they stretch her face out, and it's really gross. And but yeah, it reminds me a lot of what they did to this dude. And so we're seeing his face getting stapled to his skull, and it's like, what the hell?
He's just having his daily facelift, You don't have those?
Maybe I should. Maybe
he might be onto something.
It's kind of reminds me. They did a Joker comic at one point where he literally didn't have a face anymore, and then he like ripped someone's face off and put it on his face. It was really fucked up.
It's a pretty intense power move there.
It's very intense. That's definitely one of the more frightening Jokers out there. Anyway, so and he's like chilling with Admiral Daughtry, and so it kind of gives us a bad feeling, I think, right?
Well, first of all, he's disturbing as fuck to look at, and he's hanging out with the Admiral, so can't be a good combination.
Nah, it can't be good. Something is foul here. Something is foul.
Something is rotten, yeah.
Yeah, and so Data is continuing to go rogue, and basically Admiral Daughtry's like, "Hey, dude, you get your guy."
Your android sucks, actually. I'm not going to give him a good performance review. He does not exceed expectations. Come and pick him up, please.
Yeah, pick him up and turn him off. Mm-hmm. Turn off your Roomba, man. It's running into the wall and it's spilled my coffee.
It's chasing my cats.
Yeah. And so they show up to take him out, and there's some other kind of, I guess, basically Worf is returned to their ship.
Yeah, he got leave again, probably from DS9.
Yeah. Was DS9 on air at this point?
What year did this come out?
98. I think it was
maybe
98.
Maybe it ended in 97 or 98. So it's pretty ambiguous what it was after that.
So okay, all right. Well, I like that. I like Worf. Worf's great. Worf too. Worf's great.
It's just sad that once he returns to the next gen cast, he's totally underused.
Yeah, I know.
As per the norm.
People were talking about, like, there was this, I don't know if this is true, and I haven't watched the show enough to know, but, like, they said that, like, one of the ways that they would always show if someone was strong or not is they would beat up Worf.
Mm-hmm.
That's really sad.
Yeah, just have him fight Worf, And
have him beat Worf. That's just so sad.
Mm.
I don't know, there's something about that where it's just like, come on, why do you have to make him the whipping boy? Like, have him fight Data and beat Data, like, once.
I think Data and him did fight each other at one point. I think maybe once when Data went rogue or Worf went rogue or something like that. I'm sure really they have at some point. It had a tussle.
Yeah. So yeah, Worf and Picard are like in this little shuttle and they're going after him, and they're like, "Oh, we have to do, some kind of Trek speak about how we can capture Data without killing him, basically, or destroying him." And so, they one of the things they do, I forget why, but they sing this song, this British song, this old British song. I don't know if it's a naval song. Probably is a British naval song. What's really funny too is, like, so this same song, they sing it in Sala sings it in Raiders of the Lost Ark. That's like the play. Oh yeah.
Oh, I'm the monarch of the sea.
Yeah, I'm the monarch.
Is that Rodgers and Hammerstein?
The song?
Yeah, or it's
I don't know. I really don't know.
Either Rodgers and Hammerstein or another duo. Yeah, it's one of those. I think it's a song that pops up in Star Trek actually quite often probably for its naval references.
Yeah. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I'm the captain of the Queen's Navy. Yeah. Oh, fuck, that's gonna bother me now. Like.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, whenever I hear that song, I definitely think of the dude in Raiders of the Lost Ark singing that after Marion kissed him. I'm like, oh, that's exactly the first thing that comes into my mind.
Hey, I mean, like, Marion gives you a kiss. I mean, like, hey, I'd be pretty psyched too. Like, cool.
Right.
I feel like I can climb a mountain. I am the monarch of the fucking sea.
Mr. Katanga. So, what do you think of the visual effects in this sequence when the two shuttles are flying around?
This movie looks cheap. Compared to Star Trek First Contact, this movie looks cheap as fuck. Everything looks like it's gonna break. Every phaser looks like it's seconds away from shattering. I don't know what the budget was on this movie, but compared to First Contact, this movie looks cheap as fuck.
Yeah. There was a show in the 90s, they call it was like the New Johnny Quest Adventures or something like that. They did this like kind of reboot. It's in the late 90s, 2000s. It was on Cartoon Network. And one of the, like, I guess the things you could say about the show was, like, they would then go into basically the Matrix. Like, they would go into this online environment and they'd have this really, really, really bad digital animation, like computer generated animation. but you know, it was kind of cool. It's like, oh, Johnny Quest, they're going, you know, into a computer. It's like, okay, they're going into the Matrix. I get it, dude. And like some of the sequences in this kind of remind me of what that looked like.
Yeah, it just doesn't like you.
Yeah,
First Contact was a success. Did you spend all the money just on salary?
I don't know. I mean,
I don't know what it was, but it looks cheap.
That shot of the like Borg cube.
It can be, yeah. The Borg cube looked amazing. Just like what the Borg end up doing to the Enterprise, like over time, like it looks really, really great. It looks very organic. And then you get this, like the ship that the bad guys are on looks like one of the worst sets I've ever seen in Star Trek. It's so bad. It's so bad. It literally looks like everything is on the verge of just collapsing. Like it looks brittle. The foundation looks terrible. There's rot. It's just stupid looking. I hate it. I hate the design in this movie.
Yeah.
Except for the uniforms. The uniforms still look cool.
Oh, well, there you
go. But that's literally my best compliment I can give it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know, there's a lot of things that leave us wanting with this film. And I almost feel like, you know, there are films. Hey, it's so funny because the next thing we're going to do is Insurrection. Because there are films that are terrible, there are films that are great, and sometimes the worst films are the ones that are in the middle. You're just
mediocre. Yeah, mediocre.
It's a thing. I mean, if you don't even like there's things in freaking Batman and Robin I'll never forget. It's a terrible fucking movie, and I remember seeing that thing in the theater, and yeah. Anyway, but it'll at least stick in your mind.
Yeah, even something that's bad will stay in your mind. But like I said, this movie's so forgettable.
Right.
This movie's highly... And the thing is, it has a theme of, like, you know, people like that I think we can probably relate to right now in our current times of people being...
Checking out of technology.
Well, not even just checking out of technology, being forced to leave your home. Like, having someone be like, this was ours and we want it back. Get out. Because you have a resource we really want. You know what I mean? Like it's very you know, timeless, you know, theme, but it gets lost in all this other bullshit that I can't even remember happening.
It does. Yeah, I think the theme of this film is actually very interesting.
It has a good theme. Like I remember that part of it. I remember people being like, "Oh yeah, no, it's an evacuation of people's homes, and that's really horrible." And again, very poignant to the times that we live in now. But it's just poor. The execution is bad. The execution is just really bad.
And there's even a point in this film where he talks about, like, you know, basically there's a resource that's valuable on this planet. And they're like, you know, well, hey, like there were people that they lived under oil and that made them rich. And there were people who, you know, learned warp, or maybe I'm sure there were people where they found out they had dilithium, you know, and they became rich. And it's just like, hey, this is just how it works, and you know, this is going to benefit a bunch of people. So
everyone but the natives.
yeah, they get evacuated. They get shuttled off somewhere else. And it's like, is that justifiable? Like, can you make a utilitarian argument that that's justifiable? And that's something that's presented. And you know, Picard says, well, when is it okay? Is it okay if it's 6,000 people? Is it okay if it's 10,000 people? Is it okay if it's 1 million people? Like, what's the justification here? We can't. And he's like, it's this wrong period.
No, it is just wrong period, especially since most of the people who are coming to these places to take these resources aren't going to make the natives a partner in it in any way.
No,
at
they're
all.
Gonna exploit.
No, we don't want to share anything. We don't want to share shit with you. We don't want to share anything that you've already been mining or just living next to this whole time. You can go now.
Yeah, we want to exploit you.
Start walking.
Yeah, exactly. It's like Avatar.
Yeah. Or it's like dance, or it's just like human friggin' history, you know? It's not just like a movie. It's a Trail of Tears, the Armenian genocide, which they still don't want to say was a genocide.
Yeah. Yeah, they do not want to talk about that.
No, we're not gonna talk about that. No. It didn't happen. What
do you mean?
What do you mean?
That's horrible. Oh my god, so human beings are so bad, and it's crazy too because it just keeps happening over and over and over and over again.
It just clicks on. You're gonna power right through it, aren't you?
Yeah, it's just like they just it's the same playbook over and over and over and over again.
No one's making up new rules. We're just
Yeah.
following the same. I was just watching a video about the Spanish conquest of the Aztecs, and I'm like, holy shit, it just happens over and over again.
That was some brutal shit too.
Oh,
because
yeah, it was.
they were like
Cortez.
they were looking for gold and stuff, and they were just massacring people.
And to keep his men from not leaving, he just burned his own ships. He's like, well, we're stuck
going back. Not going back.
Fucking asshole.
So basically, it's like you got to kill your way out.
No, literally, you just got to kill your. We're stuck here. Now you have to actually work for me. Now you have to really work for me. Go kill some babies. Literally.
So sad. So sad.
Horrible. And it just, like I said, just keeps on trucking along.
Yeah. So after we get this bad VFX, basically they're kind of for real. They're trying to figure out what's going on, and so they go into the village, Picard and company, and they start talking with the the natives, and they're like, hey, hi guys, sorry about what happened. Literally, like they're just like, sorry, we did that, our bad. And I think basically, so we meet these two people, like the two main people. It's Anij, I think, and Sojef. I believe these are the two main people.
Yeah, they're like the village leaders, elders, whatever.
Yeah, the elders. And, they kind of talk about their philosophy of, who they are and what they are. And so they're like, yeah, we're a civilization that achieved warp. But we gave all that up because we felt like it wasn't really helping us. And so we came to this planet, and we found this planet to be, kind of like a perfect place. And so the further we got away from technology, the closer we got to ourselves. Inner
peace, yeah. They unplugged.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they unplugged.
Off the grid.
They got off the grid, and they're very happy. And so, and they're like...
It's crazy. There's like no war and no poverty and no nothing, like nothing bad. I mean, I'm sure they have their disagreements and shit, but you have a whole freaking planet you can just wander off to. It's just like, it's almost like they were doing just fine.
Yeah, they were doing great. But maybe they're sitting on some oil. Maybe that's the problem.
They're sitting on something really good.
Yeah. So then we see like Deanna Troi and Riker, like they just start flirting. That's the subplot in this movie.
Deanna Troi and Riker flirting is always a subplot to almost every episode. They are always making googly eyes at each other. They went on Deanna, there's a whole episode of Deanna like going on vacation with her mom, and for whatever reason Riker comes along too, and they just start going at it like rabbits. Okay. Like if they're alone together for any amount of time, they're always like at it because it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing.
Yeah, it's kind of fun because like I think one of the first scenes is like he's on a con or something. He's like talking to somebody, and she's like next to him, and she's like touching him. Mm-hmm. She's like touching his neck or something.
Jonathan Frakes and Marina Sirtis have like lovely on-screen chemistry. Yeah, I love them together because they if you watch them in an interview, they will naturally just flirt with each other. It is on and off. It is absolutely adorable.
Yeah, no, it was very fun. It was very fun. I wonder, yeah. So anyway, so they start, talking to Data, and they're like, dude, what's up? He's like, oh, I can't remember what caused my behavior. And, there's like, oh, you took out my memory chips and all this other stuff. All these other things are going on. And so later on, so what we're able to find out is, what was it like? There's like neutrino emissions. Is that what they call it? Something like that.
In Data or
in the planet.
Probably it's gonna be Star Trek jargon. Yeah. So I would
yeah because there's also there's like this cloud or something around, like in the rings. It's the rings of this planet that's what they figure out is like what's causing something to happen to them. And so so basically what we figure out is, okay, so there's this Federation vessel in this lake. It's like, what the fuck? What's this thing doing here? And they find it's a hologram of their village. And then Picard puts two and two together. It's like, okay, so when I went to this planet, all of a sudden I felt like really youthful, and I wanted to dance and play some music.
I felt good about myself.
And Riker and Deanna Troi are like flirting, and we see Worf start getting pimples, and Geordi gets his eyesight back. Okay, something's going on. And so they're like, okay, so there's something about this planet that makes people youthful. And somebody is trying to make a duplicate of their, their village so that they can just airlift them out and just have them bounce and never notice the difference.
I think they notice the difference after a while.
They would. But it'd be too late because they're gone. You're off.
Again, this is also something that happened in Next Gen in an episode where, Worf's brother is on some planet and the planet's pretty much going to die. Like, the planet is dying. It's going to blow up, essentially. So they come up with a plan to create an exact replica of their planet, the caves that they're hiding in, and beam them onto the Enterprise, into the holodeck. The planet goes boom, and then they find them a uninhabited planet replacement without them ever knowing the difference because they're a pre-warp culture. So this is Picard. You did it before, except the circumstances were a little different. So
yeah, I think it's a little bit more justifiable to try to save
exactly because the planet's going to explode. This whole species is going to die. There's personal conflict going on.
Yeah,
they're not just kicking them out to steal their resources. There's no resource left. The planet's going to go boom. So
like the equivalent would be, so what we're going to do is we're going to take all the people in, I don't know, in Iraq. we're just gonna beam them out to another planet, and then we're just gonna take all the oil.
Yeah, and then when we discover that there's actually a resource on that planet that we just sent them to, we're gonna take it.
We're gonna send them back when we completely taken all the oil.
Exactly.
Oh my god, that's so funny. So what they find out is that there's something, like you said, in the planet's rings that's causing people's cells to regenerate. These people have been there for over 900 years, and they look great. They look like they're youthful.
Easy breezy, beautiful cover girls. That's what they are.
Yeah, and seems like a great place to live. You get to live for a long time, maybe forever, and it's kind of back to basics. Civilization, they don't have any social media.
No. Totally off the grid. You have to go off the grid, but the trade-off is basically eternal life.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I feel like it'd get pretty monotonous after a while, personally.
It would, but there's an interesting trade-off with being a part of civilization.
And they're finding inner peace, total inner peace, total enlightenment. You can spend your whole life trying to find enlightenment and never get there, but now you have eternity. Cool. Do it up, Buttercup.
Yeah. And I think that this culture, they're called the Baku.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, we're not going to fight back with weapons, but we don't want to leave. And so that's another kind of difficulty for Picard and the crew, because they're like, well, I don't know how we can defend you from, these people who are trying to exploit you. Because this is within the Federation. Like, the Federation has
sanctioned. Yeah, it's sanctioned by the Federation. Yeah,
that's a problem.
They gave it their seal of approval.
That is a problem.
It's actually a problem for Picard, because it's kind of shaking his ideals of the Federation, which he lives and breathes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, he is through and through Federation loyal man.
Yeah.
And like I was saying before, this is a great scene where Geordi gets his eyesight back and he's watching the sunset with his eyes. It's great.
It's really sweet. It's a good scene. I remember that scene.
Yeah, exactly. I remember that too. And that's one of I remember that. I remember Picard dancing to the mambo or whatever, and I remember the CGI animal in the cave.
Yep. I don't remember the CGI animal in the cave.
I think we see the CGI animal twice. It's very cute. I think that's kind of why. But it's some kind of chipmunk looking thing. It's like
a rodent, like a little, not domestic, normal, little rodent you'd see.
Yeah, ground squirrel kind of thing, with the puffy cheeks. So Picard is kind of he's doing like a silent protest, you know, because since he's there, that's a problem. Yeah. And so he's observing all this stuff, and they wanted him to leave in like 12 hours, and he's, you know, they're like, oh, sorry, you know, our warp drive isn't working, and so we have to do some repairs, so we can't leave in 12 hours. So we have to kind of stay, you know, and they're
sorry, Admiral, I'm dead in the water over here. Yeah. You know, it was working fine. It was working great when we got here. I don't know. I think we got some, you know, I think we picked up some, you know, space dust. It got in the gears, you know, we're gonna have to haul out the whole transmission.
yeah we have to totally repair the whole ship, the
whole overload, you know, the port nacelles are a little sluggish. I don't
know. There's something in Into Darkness where like Scotty's talking about like they put the wrong type of equipment in the engineering room, and it could throw off the dilithium warp drive because
sure.
Exactly.
I mean, it could interfere. You got a whole bunch of radiation going on in a freaking starship. It's a very delicate balance. So yeah. Oh, it was because they were putting those torpedoes in.
They basically put nukes in there.
Yeah, they were putting the torpedoes in, and Scotty was like, "I don't know what's in these, and you want me to just put them next to the warp drive? Are you fucking stupid?
Are you crazy?" Yeah.
Oh wow! It's actually a sound voice of reason. You're fine.
I know. Yeah. Yeah.
Fuck you, Calvin.
And you know what happens when you got fired? You got fired.
Oh, it's like ask too many questions and you get fired.
That was great. He's like, so you want me to put a nuke in my engineering bay? Like, first off, we're not here to take bombs. Number one. Number two, like, what the hell is this gonna do to my warp drive? This thing has a certain chemical reaction. And you're not gonna tell me what's in this thing? Hell no. He's like, okay, you're fired. And the alien. It is funny too. The alien got fired too. Anyway.
Yeah, I think he resigned out of protest. And you know, Scotty's probably his ride. Yeah. So I was like, I gotta go. Yeah. He's my ride. So
so I'm just gonna leave.
File this with HR as a leave of absence.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that'd be nice if, you know, like, he's fired, but like, can I just like kind of go with him for a little bit and then come back?
Can we file this as like an FMLA? Like, can I dip into that?
That's so funny. I'm just gonna take some like personal days.
Yeah, I think he needs a drinking buddy. Plus, he's my ride. You know.
Yeah. Like... Oh my god. So yeah. So like, you know, this guy Ruofo is like hella pissed, and like there's even a scene. Yeah, it's the scene where like we see Goodman's like, why isn't Picard leaving? And then like his freaking head splits, like his skin.
It's so gross.
It's really scary. I mean, I'll give him credit. Like, it's very well done.
It's pretty disturbing, yeah. And really, I can't imagine that makeup was all that comfortable either. No. So I wonder if F. Murray Abraham used how uncomfortable it is in his performance. Yeah,
exactly. So then Daughtry and Picard have this discussion, and you know he's like basically making the case of like, hey, look, you know, first off, they're not natives of this planet, so what we're doing isn't that wrong. Is basically what he says. Like, no,
not that bad.
So, well, he says that because of that, we're not technically breaking the Prime Directive. It's like, okay, right?
Listen, but I'll listen. I'll hear you out.
That's an eye roll. And then he's like, well, you know, if we exploit this technology, we're gonna like revolutionize medicine, and you know, it's gonna be like so important that the benefits outweigh the costs. It justifies the ends justify the means. And Picard's like,
cool motive, still murder.
Yeah, exactly. And so they're going to like the way that they have to exploit this technology is going to completely destroy the planet.
Yeah,
like the planet's gone, planet's done. And either they're going to get the people out of there or they're going to kill them, basically. And so yeah, Picard is like, this. I mean, I don't care how many people if it was only 50 people, it's like it's wrong. It's like, you know. Like, at what point is it wrong? Is it fine if it's 6,000 people? Is it fine if it's 50,000 people? Is it fine if it's 1 million people? Like, we can't decide. It's never right. It's never right for us to make that decision. Yeah, but his admiral's like, well, I'm gonna do this anyway, and we're gonna go with this plan of getting people out. So orders are orders. So c'est la vie. But yeah, I mean, Picard's not gonna stand for this.
Nah.
Yeah, that's not something Picard.
He's just like, shit, okay.
Yeah, he's like, okay. While he's plotting, he's like, so I can take this, and then I can do. Yeah. So then Picard and the crew, they intervene on behalf of the natives there.
It doesn't help that the lady leader is like super easy on the eyes for Picard. So
Picard's really into her.
Yeah, she even said, I really like bald men. He's like, well, I really like older women. So
yeah.
Match made in heaven.
Match made in heaven. Yeah.
Which I love seeing Picard in love. It's just like it's awesome. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah. So then, so basically, yeah, the Enterprise crew, they're like, so basically the Enterprise is like fucking with the ship that's trying to do this experiment or whatever this, I forget what they call this thing. It's like they have a name for their ship that's going to do this injection that's going to cause a chain reaction in this in the rings to exploit the I guess technology, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I'll come to it later. So they're gonna do the thing. So the Enterprise is like stopping them, and on the ground, Picard and crew are like kind of basically trying to protect the people down there, because then they send out like a bunch of drones.
Yeah, they're like transporter drones or something. Yeah. They like zap them and it takes them off the planet.
Yeah, so they have transporter drones, and they start transporting people out, and so they're trying to run away and not get taken off the planet. And they also, like the Picard's crew, they set up these transport inhibitors, and so then they send some shuttles to like blow up the inhibitors, and so they blow up the inhibitors, but then that kills some people, so it went south quick.
Yeah. Long short of it is, this went south. That escalated fast.
It's really funny. Like, people, they think that it's going to be a quick military operation. It turns out that there's no.
What does that sound like?
Turns out that
I've heard that recently somewhere.
That when you face reality on in any type of plan that you have for a military operation, things change dramatically. And it's never as easy as you think it's going to be.
No, it's almost like people don't like being conquered or something. It's crazy.
Yeah. People don't like being conquered, and then when you try to do that, they're going to fight back like really hard. And they have home field advantage, and so that's kind of a problem for you. And that's kind of what they're falling into here. And so the fight's begun, and Picard and crew were basically doing target practice with these drones.
Yeah,
it's kind of fun to watch.
They get a couple out of the sky. They're doing okay. Yeah,
they're blowing them up, and so then they're retreating. And then it's kind of funny. Like, there's these subplots with Data and this kid. It's like the kid at first is like very scared of Data, and Picard's like, well, don't be offended. It's just like, they barely ever interface with technology at all. So the idea of a living sentient piece of technology is like kind of like the antithesis of their, the way that their whole philosophy. And then later, like the kid, they're talking, and he's like, the kid, Data's like, oh, I'd really love to be like, what it's like to be a child, because I'm always going to be the same forever. And the kid's like, well, but I get grounded, and I have to like eat my vegetables and stuff like that. And they're kind of like, I don't know,
compare notes.
No, for real, exactly what I was thinking. And they're like trying to learn from each other. And then the kid's like, if you want to learn what it's like to be a child. You have to learn how to play, and they're just like, oh, okay.
Which is really hard for adults. Like, as soon as we lose that ability to like make believe in that kind of way, it's very, very hard to like interact with it again until you actually like spend time with kids and like, oh, this is actually like fun. I don't hate playgrounds. Why did I stop coming here? Because it's weird if you go there by yourself. That's another reason why. But like, yeah, like I remember going to like this park with Ryan's kid, and we climbed around the jungle gym and the swings and the slides and the rocks. We just climbed on rocks, and I'm like, oh, I remember what this felt like. Just not care and just have fun.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, when you become an adult, like that's the one thing that's great about kids, and like that's like the the I don't know, the thing that you want to protect them is like that ability to just have pure joy and fun, and to not have to be burdened by the BS of life, like all of the horrible things that happen. And especially in this age where it's so easy to like go down into the negative, but I think really at heart, people, like most human beings, they want to find things that give them joy.
Yeah.
And so that's like the instinct is like, oh, I'm like doing this thing. I like playing on the jungle gym. I like, I like collecting rocks. I like learning about dinosaurs. It just makes me happy,
Yeah.
And then we kind of lose that and we become jaded and
we become jaded by experience, and then we sit in it and we get mad about it for a while, and then like in 10 years you're like, wow, that was absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Now I filed my taxes wrong. This is way worse.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's a cool scene between the two of them, the kid and this and Data.
Yeah, it's endearing.
It's endearing. So later on, we see like the survivors and the crew that get trapped in this cave. And again, they're trying to escape, and then these people, they like blasted. They tried to blast them. A whole bunch of people are getting captured by the drones, transporter drones. And we see that the Enterprise is like interfering with the ship. It's trying to do this injection, and so they go into there's this area in space. I think it's around the rings. They call it like the Briar Patch, something like that. It's this big kind of cloud, and so the Enterprise escapes into the cloud, and we get all these cool maneuvers and stuff. So yeah, and so those are like kind of the two plots that are going on at this point. And then later on we see back on the planet Picard and the other lady, Anij, I forget. So they get captured, and this is when we learn that the Sona and the Baku are the same race. They just kind of split off at one point.
Oh,
and,
shit, plot twist.
Yeah. The Baku were like kind of
pacifists.
Yeah, they're pacifists, and the Sona were like the bad ones.
Yeah.
They're the bad ones, and they were sent off planet. But now they're in this feud, and it's kind of funny. One side is like, yeah, we're gonna kill everybody on the other side.
Yeah.
Now it's like seeming more like revenge than it is about scientific conquest.
Exactly. It's very personal. Yeah, because I think the lady is just like, oh, you were a child the last time I saw you. And his dad is like still on the planet or something. I forget what it is. And he's just like, oh, yeah, how's my dad? I miss him.
Yeah, I think one of them is like their mom of that person is on the planet too.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, it's the mom, not a father. But yeah, but it also just goes to show you that just because you have one psychotic leader, it doesn't represent a whole.
Yes.
If that makes any sense.
No, it does totally.
That Murray Abraham is like psychotic.
He is totally hell-bent on doing this thing, period, end of story. And you could tell it's for these, because like they have some really weird conversations, him and the Admiral, where he's like, he's like has this one like person, this one woman always like stretching his face, stretching his skin and shit.
I think they're just like they're babes or whatever. I think they were just there to be set pieces, honestly.
It's kind of funny that they didn't go with like the space pirate race.
I mean, probably not. They seem kind of isolationist ish.
That's true. Although we do see one in,
We'll get to her. Another set piece.
Oh man. Yeah, there's some exploitative shots in a couple of those movies. Let's just put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
So how can we have Uhura in her underwear?
Dude, we got her in her underwear for absolutely no fucking reason. We got, the other one, I don't know what her name is, the Orion lady. She's in her underwear because she's getting jiggy with Kirk, but that's her only. We don't know what she does. We don't know what her. We assume she's an ensign.
Doesn't she die? Doesn't she go on the?
Yeah, I think she goes on the ferry.
Neurotic?
I think she goes on like one of the earlier ships. Like she's dead. We never see her again.
Yeah.
And then we reduce Carol Marcus to literally tits and ass.
Yeah. Well, actually, isn't it? Because like she's a weapons specialist, right?
Oh yeah, we tits and ass and guns. Sure, yeah.
It's like they completely inverted who she was.
Completely. There's nothing left of who Carol Marcus was.
What the fuck?
She's British. She's young. Her dad is some random admiral who nobody gave a shit about who her dad was before because she wasn't originally defined by exactly who her dad was.
She didn't have daddy issues.
She didn't have daddy issues. Who gives a shit about your problems, Carol Marcus? Get the fuck out of my face. Fuck you, J.J. Abrams.
Exactly.
We're gonna get to it.
Yeah, we are. The Kelvinverse. It's like the Kelvinverse is basically like Stranger Things upside down. Like,
I'd rather be in the upside down.
Yeah, I can deal with a Demigorgon. Anyway, so okay, so yeah, so now the plan's out in the open, and the F. Murray Abraham character, he just starts going kind of full evil, Before it was
a little ham, yeah.
Before it was like, the Nazi scientist kind of guy who's like, oh, but this will be so good, like where you can look like, okay, I can kind of see how we can justify it because we're going to do this and we're not going to actually kill that many people, But now it's like, he's like, no, let's just, if they're not going to leave, they're not going to leave. We're just going to do this thing. We're going to do this injection and it's going to kill
He's going for a full extermination at this point.
Yeah, he's going full evil. And so the Admiral is like, no, we're going to shut this down. This is over. And then
now he sees the light.
Now he sees the light, and now he doesn't see light anymore because he gets killed.
Yeah,
so
he dies.
Yeah, he does something to him and he kills him. And so then Picard convinces, I forget the name of this guy, but it's like one of their race, but he's kind of wavers a little bit. Like we see the scene where he talks to Ruffo and he's like, hey dude, like I didn't sign up for like genocide.
Mm-hmm.
I
signed up for a little genocide, but not all of it.
Yeah, like I no, but what's funny is like, so what I've signed up for is ethnic cleansing. Like I'm cool with like, taking these people off their planet and exploiting their planet's resources. Like I'm cool with that. But like killing them, no, I can't.
That goes pretty far, man. My moral compass is finally turning on.
Yeah, exactly. Like this is kind of like revving up the engine of my moral compass. So can we like maybe get an alternative? He's like, no, there's no alternative. And so this guy kind of goes turncoat and starts working with Picard. And so they kind of come up with this little trick where, dude thinks he's going to do the injection and instead they're on a holodeck. And so nothing's happened. And so they got teleported to this holodeck. And
the old switcheroo.
Yeah, the holodeck's very fun technology actually. And we've seen some cool, we got a whole, in the previous movie, we got a whole like noir film interlude.
You can do a lot with the holodeck.
Matter of fact, in the first in Generations, right? Isn't there's a holodeck naval?
They're doing like a ceremony for
Worf.
For Worf, yeah.
Yeah. That was pretty cool.
It's just a way to play dress up, honestly. You're just playing dress up.
Yeah. I was seeing that. It's like, what do we feel like we want to justify doing in this movie episode, whatever it is? do we want them to be noir? Do we want them to be Navy? Do we want them to be, I don't know. I'm sure they've done maybe something super primitive, like, or
medieval, but not. Yeah. I wouldn't necessarily say primitive, but definitely they've gone medieval. They've gone full Robin Hood.
I'm just thinking of something like Conan. Oh, they did a Robin Hood?
Oh, yeah, they did a whole Robin Hood thing.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, Picard had like a goatee and everything.
Oh, that's cool.
Which is funny because he was King Richard in Robin Hood Men in Tights.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then, they've been tricked, but then there's, I don't know. There's a lot of like the end of this movie is like pure Trek speak. I mean, it's just like,
yeah, I can't interpret it at all. I know what they're doing, but I couldn't repeat it.
Yeah, I mean, so pretty much what happens is, okay, so, I mean, I can see how it's working from a narrative level, because it's like, okay, how do we still have conflict if, Picard and crew are on the ship that's going to do this injection? Like, isn't this just over? Well, it's not over because they control some things that they can't self-destruct it and they can't destroy it. Okay, so they can't do that, and so now they have to get someone else to blow it up. And so then it's like, okay, well, we can blow it up, but you have to be there on this thing to blow it up and press the button. But then you have 2 seconds to get off it.
It's a design flaw for sure.
So that's the thing. Picard has to beam onto this thing, make it detonate. He has enough time to get beamed off. And that's exactly what happens. So Raffo tries to stop him. He
gets blown up.
He just
gets blown. Fuck you, go away. You're dead now.
Yeah, exactly. Fuck you, go away. Thing explodes. He gets blown up with it. Game over. You're dead. Picard wins. Everyone's happy. And so then at the end, they're back on the planet and the people are back to their home, and the Federation isn't going to do this thing anymore, exploiting them.
No consequences from the other planets involved in the Federation whatsoever. We will not issue any kind of consequence. You're good. No problem. We get it. You wanted to exploit their resources, man. We've all been there. It's cool.
Yeah.
You get a pass.
Yeah.
It's fine. Yeah. Maybe there's some exposition as to like what actually happened. I don't remember any of it.
Yeah, I don't know. I just remember Picard flirting with what's her name? And Inaj. And he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna get 300 days of
I'll be coming back."
Yeah, I'll be back.
And hopefully, he won't. He's not coming back.
I mean, they're never really back, right? I mean, how many people has Kirk like banged? I mean, let alone flirted with. I mean,
Kirk bangs without the promise of coming back. Okay, and usually the women are pretty aware of it.
That's fair.
They're usually like, yeah, okay, I'm down for like one night. Boo.
Yeah. Although I did like in the one with the whales, like the lady, like she was like, "Oh, I'm in the future and I got things to do. I mean,
I gotta go.
Bye." Yeah,
he was like, said, "Oh, that's what that feels like."
Yeah, exactly. She said she ghosted him. I really like that. She's like, "Yeah, I mean, like I've got to get a PhD. I've got so much to learn. I'm about to go on a science mission. Like I'm out."
She's gonna go learn in the field. She's not even going to Starfleet Academy. She's gonna learn in the field.
Yeah, she's like, "I am out. I am leaving.
Bye. Thanks
I have way better things to do. He
was basically an Uber. So
an Uber to the future.
He was an Uber to the future. She saved her whales. They're repopulating the species, and she's going to be ahead of it. So she's going to be a part of it.
Yeah,
she's there at the front lines with those whale babies. So
yeah, totally.
Good for her.
So yeah, Picard makes a promise that he can't keep, but hey, he's got so much more to do. He's got
maybe he came back off screen or some shit like that. Who knows? But I doubt he came back that often.
How would you feel that if in the current season of Picard, if he actually went back?
I'd be genuinely surprised. It would be genuinely surprising because with certain things that have happened in season 1, the planet's going to be pretty much useless to him now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Which actually, I'm behind an episode. I gotta watch that shit.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I started watching Halo on Paramount Plus, and I feel like I've instantly regretted being on Paramount Plus. I
It
feel
sucks.
like that's my feeling. Yeah.
It's a horrible app. It's absolutely terrible.
It's really bad. It's really bad.
It's shit. It's a shitty app.
It's kind of sad, but I don't know. I mean, the way that this whole streaming extravaganza is going to shake out is going to be interesting because they're not all going to make it.
No.
You know,
I think Netflix is eventually going to go the way of the dinosaur. I think Netflix might be the first one to go.
Yeah, I think
not
about
right
Netflix,
away, but it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Is that they're just spending so much money to make this content, and you just wonder if it's sustainable or not. But who knows?
Yeah.
As long as someone's paying the bill, they don't care.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't say the same about Paramount. I just don't see that thing lasting. Like no way.
They got to do something new because it's just it's terrible. Like the search bar or whatever is horrible. The just getting it to play. Oh my god, it's just like buffering. I'm like, it's just
like if I can't watch what's on your service, what's the point?
Yeah, especially since Picard is on Amazon Prime, so I can literally just leave your service and go watch it there. So
and might be better off for it.
It's not going to be shit. I mean, the thing is, the Amazon Prime app is ugly as shit. I think it's an ugly freaking app, but at least it works. It's works. Bare bones, it's basic, and it works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I don't have all this clutter everywhere.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, although my girlfriend started watching Frasier.
Oh, I love Frasier.
She did. Yeah, she's like, yeah, I think it was recently. She was like, oh yeah, I watched like 25 episodes of Frasier, and then I deleted the app because I needed to get away from this.
I have watched Frasier from start to finish many, many times. It's probably one of my favorite sitcoms.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so yeah, that about covers this movie.
You don't really need to know anymore. That's the end of the movie. They blow up, they win. The Baku live in peace.
And there's actually, one of the nice things we see is the guy, the turncoat guy. He meets his mom on the planet. And they have kind of a makeup moment.
Sorry, I was gonna exterminate you.
Yeah, I'm really sorry, but it seems like they forgive him, and that's another positive thing. It's nice to see, maybe maybe these tensions between similar groups who decide to, when the one group decides to exploit the other, that they can still forgive and live together in peace.
Mm-hmm. Well, again, because one crazy motherfucker doesn't represent an entire species, and it doesn't represent an entire race, and it doesn't represent an entire country. So
yes,
that is something that we need 100%. To keep reminding ourselves that not everyone's cool with the decisions the powers that be make.
100%.
Yeah.
Totally. Well, yeah. On that note, I think that'll be about it. Any last words? Any last thoughts?
Not really. I still can't remember most of the movie.
Yeah, this movie is quite forgettable. But
she's cheap and she's forgettable. But if you want to spend a night with her, she's there.
Yeah. Exactly. So next up is Nemesis. I've never seen Nemesis. Never. To be honest, I don't even know what it's about.
Don't look it up. Just go into it. Don't look it up. Just watch it. Just watch it.
I mean, on most of these, I've known nothing, unless I'd either already seen it, or it was just like kind of out there in pop culture.
Mm-hmm.
But and so there've been some pleasant surprises along the way in this journey through all these films.
Mm.
But yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing what's the hubbub is about, because this film has a reputation that's negative. So
every now and then I come across someone who's like, it's the best Star Trek movie, and I'm like, is it though? I don't know if you've watched a lot of Star Trek. Hey, you're more than welcome to be. You're entitled to thinking it's the best Star Trek movie. That's totally fine. I will humbly disagree with you.
Yeah. And that's fair. So so that'll be the next thing we're gonna talk about, and then after that we get to go on a Kelvin journey.
Okay.
I'm really excited. I'm not gonna lie, I'm really excited because I think that the discussions are gonna be really interesting because there's going to be a lot to like talk about. There's honestly things like, I mean, you can go back to the episode where we talk about Wrath of Khan, where like you can see the moment where I realized, like, wait, this is Marcus? Wait a minute, but like in this movie she's a scientist, and in the other movie she's like a weapons specialist or some shit like that. And you're like, oh yeah, it's the same person.
Same person. The only thing they have in common with each other is that they're blonde. That is literally the only thing that these Carol Marcuses have in common.
Yeah, and they share a name.
I'm sorry. Kelvin Carol Marcus is supposed to be smart, but I don't really see any evidence of her being smart at all. Mostly just see her being told what to do.
Exactly, yeah. And getting called out by Spock a couple times.
Yeah, or lying about being there, or just like not divulging certain pertinent information about who your dad is and why being that could be a serious conflict of interest, and you just endangering people because fuck it,
willy-nilly
and guns, torpedoes. I'm a scientist. It's like that. Sorry, it's like that goddamn moment in freaking the second. What was it? Batman versus Superman or some shit, and Lois Lane is just like, I'm a journalist, or I'm a woman, or some stupid line. I'm like, who wrote that? They should be fucking flogged.
Yeah, you know what's funny too is like, there's actually a big kind of story behind that, because like that was someone read in a newspaper that a person said that in real life, and then they put it in the movie.
Okay. It sounded stupid.
But it doesn't work. It doesn't work.
It sounded stupid. I'm sure it sounded much more interesting in real life.
Well, it's totally different in real life because like it's real.
Yeah, it's actually real.
You're there with some people that can kill you.
Yeah. Exactly.
As we learn, like, I mean, there are people in conflicts right now who are journalists who are being killed because they're journalists.
Yeah.
That's totally different than, Lois Lane, who's a fake person.
She's also just a stupid person. She's a stupid character in those movies. I can't freaking stand her. I hated Amy Adams for the longest time because of those goddamn movies. I think she's a phenomenal actress now. Like Arrival totally changed my mind. Yeah. Totally changed my mind. But Lois Lane sucks.
The thing that really got me in that movie was like there's a point where there's so many kind of ridiculous things, but like one is there's a spear that Batman makes to kill Superman, and then she's there and she throws the spear in the water, and then she gets caught underneath this collapsing building.
She's stupid.
And then Superman is like fighting to the death with Doomsday.
This is a death match.
Yeah.
This is a death winner take all, and he has to worry about your stupid ass.
Yeah. He's fighting to the death with Doomsday, and he gets his ass beat like after. I think it's both of them do a heat ray vision battle, like some DBZ kind of shit, and he loses that. He gets blasted into a wall. He's flying up and he's about to like punch this dude again, and then he hears like, oh, she's drowning, and so he has to fly over there to save her, and then he has to fly into the water and get the spear out of the water that she threw in the water. And it's like, why did she throw it in the water?
I think because Batman was trying to get the spear to kill Superman, so she was trying to hide it from Batman, or some dumb shit. Like, I hate that movie. I hate it so much. I hate it, everything about it, except the opening scene. Except with the exception of the opening scene with Bruce Wayne. He's not even Batman. He doesn't have a cape. He doesn't have gadgets. He doesn't have anything, and he just runs into that building, and he's just like, okay, that's a fucking hero. Go blow it out your butt.
And then he saves the Robin.
Oh my god! And I love that he just puts his arms around her, and it's like it's such a hero moment.
Where's your mom? She's in the rubble.
She was in there, and it's like, oh, dude, it's just like, and he has that. There's a great shot of like the camera pans into like Ben Affleck's face, and he's looking up at the sky, and he just sees Superman whizzing around, causing all the destruction.
What he sees is like Zod and Superman like basically and what's funny too is like they had just gone into space, fighting in space, and they blow up one of his satellites, and then the debris from the satellite is falling down into the earth. That stuff's cool.
That was a great opening scene. The rest of the movie
and then the next scene is immediately horrible when they go to Mogadishu or wherever the fuck they are.
I don't yeah. Oh, is that when she says, "I'm a journalist"?
Yes, that is the next scene, and it immediately goes like
I don't
off
like,
the cliff.
and I should say, I understand that journalists put themselves in very serious, horrible, terrifying situations that I am not brave enough to put myself in. So I give them total props. It is the pandering nature of the line that bothers me. It is pandering and it is stupid.
Well, it doesn't work. There's tons of things that were said by people that work in a context of, hey, in real life, this person did this.
Yeah. Sure.
I honestly feel like, most of Donald Trump's behavior is like that. You couldn't make a movie about this man.
You wouldn't believe it.
You would
not believe that it was actually like true.
You would be like, what?
It's like that Death of Stalin movie. I think there's like a title card that comes up that says everything in this movie happens as it actually happened.
Yeah.
Because no one would actually believe that Stalin was that fucking ignorant.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I'm going to fire all the doctors. I'm going to shoot all my most trusted generals. Or not even
during a war,
just experienced generals. So when he actually had a heart attack and needed help or stroke, whatever the fuck it was, I finally killed that monster.
Exactly.
Glad he's dead.
Yeah. Fuck him.
No one was there to actually help him.
Yeah.
Because no one would actually believe that actually happened.
And then they get invaded by the Nazis, and now you have no military leadership, and you're getting massacred. And
it's just
tons of innocent people are dying because of your psychopathy, basically.
Literally. Or, it's like, just shit. Like, I'm so glad Stalin's dead.
Yeah.
I'm so glad he's dead. Yeah. And no one should feel bad saying that.
Puts on his grave.
Seriously.
Well, anyway, so yeah, that was Star Trek Insurrection.
That was Insurrection.
and some other asides. So see you guys again in the future. And may the force be with you.
Live long and prosper.